Hello everyone, welcome back to the Human Reviews channel. Today we are listening to Vulgaris by Queens of the Stone Age. I have heard 4 Queens of the Stone Age albums so far. I have heard Rated R, Songs for the Deaf, Like Clockwork, and their newest album, In Times New Roman. All 4 of those albums I consider to range from very good to damn near perfect, as I think Queens of the Stone Age are one of the most consistent, enjoyable, re-listenable rock acts ever, honestly. They don't really have a bad album that I've heard yet, at least. However, the albums that I haven't heard, they're self-titled. This album, Lullabies to Paralyze, and Villains are considered to be, like, the band's worst. Villains is firstly considered to be the band's worst album, full stop. Fantano gave it like a 4. Most fans really don't like that album, and people just sort of write it off as the biggest miss in the band's catalogue. Vulgaris and Lullabies to Paralyze are both considered to just be solid but forgettable releases. And then the debut, most people seem to kind of enjoy, but like it's not as highly praised as a lot of their other stuff. So, I'm actually very interested to get into this one, because I want to see if it lives up to the other albums that I have heard, in my opinion. Now, I have heard one song off this album. I've heard Make It Wit Chu. When I went to see Queens of the Stone Age live last year with Crocky, they played this song live, and I thought it sounded great live. So I listened to the actual studio version of the track, and I thought it was absolutely great. It's one of my favorites that the band has ever released. So, if the rest of the album sounds like that, and it does interesting, unique, weird stuff that doesn't feel like it goes too far, and provides something of substance that I can cling on to, and that I find replay value from, then maybe I'll end up liking this album more than most Queens of the Stone Age fans. This album came out in 2007. It is 15 tracks, an hour and 8 minutes. This is a pretty long album, damn. With that being said, I am just going to get straight into this album. Track 1, we have Turnin On The Screw. Okay. First thing to take note of here is how wildly different the sound of this album is from any of their other albums. It's so much more raw and way more stripped back than any of their other stuff, especially when you compare it to Songs for the Deaf and how rich and filled out the sound of that was. This is just the complete opposite of that sound, which I honestly really like. I kind of like the Queens of the Stone Age switch it up with every single album. It means that you don't actually know what to expect going into any of them, and I like that. Love the writing. Oh my god, yeah. The writing here is absolutely fantastic. I also love how bouncy this song is. It's just very silly, very unserious, a great tone setter for this album. And I imagine that this very goofy, ridiculous sound is going to continue, especially considering I've heard Make It Wit Chu, and that has a very similar, upbeat, kind of wild sound to it. Well, not wild, more it's more just a goofy sound. my god, dude. Nice. The way the riff comes back in is so cool. Okay. Ooh, great transition. That was a actually surprisingly good opener. I wasn't expecting it to start off this strong. I went in thinking that like the sound of this album wasn't really gonna work all that well outside of the context of like Make It With You, but genuinely the raw sound, the very stripped back, sort of goofy, silly sound actually genuinely works very well. I think the writing throughout the song is actually like really good. It's super engaging, and I think it's like one of the better written songs I've heard from the band. Full stop. He uses the R word towards the end, which caught me off guard a little bit. But, like, outside of that, I think the writing is just, like, legitimately fantastic on that track. Very, very strong opener. I would give that one, like, an 8.8. Yeah, that was really nice. It's not the most mind-blowing thing the band have ever made. It's definitely not even the most re-listenable. But in terms of the reception I've heard about this album, and the fact that most people kind of don't really care for it, I think it was really good. That was a really nice open. Next track, we have 666. I think I've heard this. Oh, I've heard this song. Oh my god. That riff. Incredible bass tone as well. That little verse there was kind of awkward. I don't know, I felt like that didn't work very well. It just felt a little bit out of place, and it sort of like broke up the pace of the song a lot. I feel like that verse wasn't really necessary. Is that a feature? Who is that doing backing vocals? Hold on, let me look this up. I'm going Genius. Sick, sick, sick. It kind of sounds like Julian Casablancas' voice. It is Julian Casablancas! I'm a genius. It is Julian Casablancas doing backing vocals there. That's cool. Yeah, great feature. Nice. Oh my god. Cool. Yeah, that was a very solid outro to that song. Yeah, the Julian Casablancas feature, I'm actually quite proud of myself for picking up on that. Yeah, that song, again, was very solid. Chorus was fantastic. I think the pacing of that song was super strong outside of that one verse that I felt like could have been like switched up a little bit, because I did feel like that did kind of break the tension a little bit, but outside of that, the pacing of that song was fantastic. I think the general sound and production of the album is holding up surprisingly well. These first two tracks are working very well with this more raw, stripped-back sound, and I hope that it's able to do that throughout. Yeah, that song was very good. I think I've heard it once before, but I didn't really remember much about it outside of the chorus. But yeah, that song was surprisingly very solid. I'm shocked at how well this album is, like, keeping itself together right now. I feel like, unless the album completely falls off later on, I feel like this album's going to be a lot better than people make it out to be. Feeling an 8.6 on that second track. Yeah, that would honestly, I just hope the rest of the album can like keep it together this well because these first two songs are genuinely like great, and Make It With You is great as well. All right, next track we have I'm Designer.
My generation don't trust no one. It's hard to blame. Not even ourselves. In shit.
Did not expect the bass line to come in like that. That sounds incredible. Though I will say the vocals are kind of abysmal on this track. I really don't like this vocal performance right now. It's kind of annoying, and I don't really feel like it's meshing with the sound of the song very well. Especially the effect on the vocals. I think that sounds like utter ass. The instrumental's great though. This chorus is a lot stronger though. I think the vocals here are great. Yeah, this just sort of feels like them experimenting and just like trying a bunch of different things and playing with different sounds. While I don't think this is anywhere near as strong as like Songs for the Deaf or Rated R or like Clockwork, it's still enjoyable and it's still likable and fun, and I feel like it would be decently replayable as well. I really don't see what people's problem with this album is. Maybe it's a different production style. It's possible that people just don't like it because the sound is this raw and this stripped back, but with how ridiculous and playful the sound of this is, I think it works very well.
Nice mud. You're insulted, you can't be bought. I'm one of a kind. I'm designer. Never again will I repeat myself. Sex with a man after he buys you.com for sale.
What is going on in the lyrics? What the hell is happening? Again, I appreciate the goofiness, but it does at points feel like it's just being goofy and random for the sake of it. It's not like the worst thing in the world. It's not like too distracting. It's like if I'm just on a casual listen, I won't really be paying attention to the lyrics that much. But when I'm actually sat down and I have the lyrics right in front of me and I'm looking at them and paying attention, it's just a bit like, okay, it's just a little much. That song was pretty good, but I did have some like pretty big problems with it. I think the vocals on that track were very up and down. There were moments where they worked very well, and moments where they were like cringe and like a little distracting, and they just felt super awkward. Same with the writing. I feel like the silliness in the writing works really well in certain spots, especially when paired with the ridiculous sound that the album is going for. And then other spots where it just feels like it's taking it a bit far and it could be toned back just a little bit. This song is still pretty good. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's anywhere near bad. But I just feel like some of the like more out there elements could have been stripped back just a little bit, because it does veer a little too far and just sort of becomes like a little bit too unserious, if that makes sense. Still give that song like a 7.2. It's still good. It's still solid. I just wouldn't really return to this one on its own, like, ever, basically. Next track, Into the Hollow. Okay. I'm liking that we're getting like a calmer sound here, one that's a little more subtle, one that's not trying to be completely like out there and silly, one that's taking itself a little bit more seriously. I think this is a nice change of pace. The sound of this is fantastic so far. I think the thing that works best about this song is how well it builds. I think the way this track has built from the beginning to this point for this like big outro here is like really great. Like the pacing is absolutely fantastic. Like I'm not like crazy on this song, but it's just still solid as hell. Oh. Is it gonna transition? No, it's not. I don't know what that was at the end there. Yeah. That song was very good. I'm not crazy on it. It's definitely not the most memorable thing I've heard from Queens of the Stone Age, but it is just a solid, enjoyable track that builds very well. It's fantastically paced, great, tasteful riffs. Josh Homme giving a very good vocal performance. It's nothing special. It's nothing I'm gonna be like sprinting to return to. But if I listen to this album front to back, or if it came on my liked songs on shuffle, I'd probably listen to it and really enjoy it. I'd give that one like a flat 8. This album's just been solid as hell so far, man. I really don't see people's big problem with it. I just think this is solid. I guess it's not as like incredible as Songs for the Deaf or Rated R or what they would later go on to do on like Clockwork. But I still think this is just a really well put together rock album. It's just super solid, fun, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just chill and relaxed, and I really like it. Next track we have Misfit Love. Okay. Let's see what Crocky's rated this album on Album of the Year. Crocky recently made an Album of the Year account. I'm curious to see what his thoughts on this album are. Gave it an 80. Gave it a flat 8. I can't tell if that's a synth or if it's a guitar with some sort of pedal on it, but it is carrying right now. I love, like, it's adding a lot of fuzz to the mix. I think it sounds great. Amazing vocal performance as well. I love how like messy the instrumental is here. I like how just chaotic and like stacked all of the instrumental is. I think it's working very well with the lyrical content, and I think it's like it's really great in context with the rest of the album. Like how silly or ridiculous it is having a song this cluttered and this just like filled out with so many different sounds going on at once. Works really well. Nice outro. I think that was possibly my favorite song so far. I mean, just front to back, the way the instrumental built, the way they added in all the different elements was incredible. I like how just filled out and cluttered the sound was. I think it works really well with the like ridiculous tone that the album's going for. I think that it's one of the best in terms of writing as well. Like that song felt like it was on the same level of quality as something that could have landed on like Rated R. A song that I would probably return to like a good bit like on its own. That was really good. I give that one like a flat 9. Definitely my favorite so far. Yeah, it's songs like that that just are making me wonder what the negative reception about this with this album is about. I just feel like this is like it's really different, but it works, and I think it's enjoyable and goofy and fun. In like it just, I guess it's just because it's like not as like groundbreaking or breathtaking as some of their other stuff. But I think this is really solid. Next track, Battery Acid. I don't know. I feel like the silliness and the ridiculous on this song is honestly a bit much. In the first minute and a half here, at least, I feel like it's just coming after. I don't know, because that last song was so cluttered and so ridiculous, but it feels like this one is just like taking it a little too far. Like it just feels like it's going too overboard and like it doesn't really mesh very well with the rest of the album so far. I don't know, I'm only a minute and a half in. My opinions could change, but I don't know. This first minute and a half feels like it's just a little too much. Section there worked pretty well. I think that actually sounded great in like context of the song. The way it progressed to that part was surprisingly very solid. There's pieces of this track that work very well. Like the track as a whole is like still decent, but I just still feel like it could be toned back just a tiny bit. Very interesting transition to Make It With You. That song was my least favorite so far. It felt like it sort of went a little too far into the goofiness and the like outrageousness. I feel like it just needed to be toned back just a tiny bit for it to work. Like maybe if the riff wasn't as insane and aggressive, or maybe if Josh Homme wasn't giving such a wild vocal performance, I feel like it would have worked a little better. But it just feels like it went a little too far into the silliness, and I don't think it worked quite as well as the previous songs. It's still solid. It still has tons of individual elements that I enjoy. And I still wouldn't even consider it to be a bad song or one I would skip if I was listening to the full album front to back. But it just sort of doesn't really feel like it lives up to the rest of the album at this point. And it's songs like this that I sort of imagined when people said this album wasn't that great. I'm feeling like a 6.3 on that track. Again, it's still decent. It's still solid. but like compared to like any other songs on this album, it's just nowhere near as good. Next track, a song I've already heard, we have Make It Wit Chu. Yeah, it's one of my favorite choruses on any Queens of the Stone Age song. It's like so odd. It's so weird, but it works so well. Yeah, again, the first time I heard this song was at Queens of the Stone Age concert in Bournemouth that I went to last year with Crocky. They played this song live, and I thought it sounded great, sounded amazing. And then I checked out the album version, and it was actually it's like the only song I've heard from this album before. I have literally replayed this song so many times. The first time I listened to the album version, I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but I'm not crazy on it. But then I just kept coming back to it again and again and again. And it has only grown on me since. This has like grown to be like one of my favorites from the band, honestly.
Sometimes the same is different, but mostly it's the same. If I told you that I knew about the sun and the moon, that'd be untrue.
Even the structure of this song is so odd. Like having it be twice around on the chorus here doesn't really make any sense because you normally do that at the end of a song. Then you have a whole like instrumental passage after this, and then the chorus again, and then like a weird like outro thing. The structure of this song makes no sense. There we go. I never got what this outro was for. I'm guessing it's going to transition into the next song. Yeah, very interesting transition there. Yeah. That's the only song I've heard before off of this album, I think. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I've heard Sick, Sick, Sick before at some point, but I only remember the chorus. That's the only song I've heard on the album that I have returned to and actually, like, properly know. It is one of my favorite songs that they've created. Honestly, I love just how odd it is. The structure doesn't make sense. The chorus, the way the backing vocals like pair with the lead vocals also don't make any sense. The sound of the song is so off, and the production, it feels so like sloppy and unfinished. But it works very well. I genuinely would give that song a 10. Unironically, I would give that song a 10. It's amazing. Like one of my favorite songs the band has ever created, genuinely. Next track, Threes and Sevens. Oh, I've heard this one too. I've heard Threes and Sevens. I didn't recognize it from the title. Did they play this one live? Is that where I've heard it? I know they played Make It Wit Chu live. That was the first time I heard the song. Did they play this one live? Because I genuinely don't know where I've heard this. No? I have no clue where I've heard this then. Oh, they played 666 live. Okay. Yeah, that'll be where I've heard that. Do you like this album so far? It has a lot of interesting elements to each song. Yeah, I love how different it is. Yeah, this song is a lot more straightforward than a lot of the previous songs. When I heard this before, I assumed this might be a Lullabies to Paralyze song. This one's a lot more, like, straightforward. than the previous tracks. It feels more like just a standard Queens of the Stone Age song. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it still has that same that same flair and sort of offness that's still like carried over slightly from the previous tracks, that's still making it stand out and still making it genuinely very enjoyable. It's really bugging me. I can't put my finger on where I've heard this. Oh yeah, as this switch up. Incredible switch up. That works so well. Completely forgot that was in this song. Nice. Yeah, that song is solid as hell. One thing I quickly want to point out is the riff at the beginning of this song sounds so much like Song 2 by Blur. Listen to this. Now, if I get up Song 2. Yeah, hurry up. Sound very similar. Yeah, 3s and 7s is great. I genuinely forgot that I'd heard that. I didn't put my finger... I can't speak. I didn't make the connection that it was that song based on the title. I have heard it before a couple times. I assumed it was a Lullabies to Paralyze song. But no, that song's great. It's really solid. It's much more straightforward than a lot of the stuff on this album, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it still fits in consistently, and still fits in tonally with the rest of the album, and it doesn't really feel like it distracts from the rest of it too much. I give that one an 8 point... Actually, I give that one like a solid 9. That one's really good. I love that song. How's it going, Lonely Milk? 3s and 7s has to be one of your favorite Queens of the Stone Age songs. I imagine that one will grow on me as I like return to this album, and I'm probably going to be re-listening to that one on its own a good bit. I imagine that one will grow on me a lot. Right, next song we have Suture Up Your Future.
See, I've been down too long. It's kinda hard to explain. All my evils through a needle. As it goes,
Okay. Okay, just in the first minute and a half, we already had 2, like, complete switch-ups. Started off really, like, slow and low-key, and then it just punched you in the face with the drums and the really thick bass coming in, and then it switches up again for the chorus in just the first minute and a half. It does honestly feel like a little much, but it's not that bad to the point where it, like, is making me... like, dislike the song at this point. I just feel like it could have maybe taken its time a little more. It definitely does feel like it does rush a little bit through the first section of the song. Okay, this instrumental outro is kind of carrying right now, I'm not gonna lie. Surely this has to transition. Okay. Very, very interesting transition. Okay. So, I thought that song in the big, like, for the first, like, 2/3 of it was decent, but not great. It felt like it had lots of great ideas, but it sort of rushed through them too quickly and tried to cram them all into the space of like 2 minutes. And it just didn't really work all that well. Well, 2.5 minutes more like. It just didn't work all that well for me. But I feel like the ideas themselves were interesting enough for me to still have the song in the green. But then the instrumental outro came in and was incredible. And the way it faded out and switched to like that guitar thing for the transition was genuinely so interesting that like it made the rest of the song sort of seem worth it. I give it like a flat 7. It's definitely not one that I'm ever going to return to like on its own. But I would probably re-listen to it. I probably wouldn't skip it, sorry, if I'm, like, listening to the album front to back. I still think it's, like, decent. But yeah, that outro absolutely carried that song. 100% it carried. Next track, River in the Road. Huh. Okay. That song was pretty good. That song was like it was solid. It was pretty good. But I just don't really see myself ever returning to that one. It felt like it made so much sense in context of the album. The individual elements of it I thought were all good, but that just sort of felt like it didn't really do much in terms of like gripping me, keeping my attention, making me want to return to it at any point. It was just sort of like good, but nothing I'm ever gonna return to, I guess. It was alright. It's like another flat 7, like the previous track. There's still not been any bad songs on the album so far. There's just some songs that are just kind of like good but pretty forgettable. Next track we have Run Pig Run. What am I going for? I've been recording for an hour and 11 minutes, damn. Okay. I like how goofy that chorus is. That works really well. The instrumental in this one is so good. Bro, the toms are recorded fantastically. The way the guitars matching them as well sounds great. This is like one of my favorite instrumentals so far. I have no idea what is going on in the lyrics here. Hold on, I'm going to get Genius up. I need Genius to help me. There is nothing on Genius. Why? Alright, I guess I'm just not gonna know what the song is on about. Okay, so the beginning of that song was incredible. I think the instrumental was literally amazing. Like the first minute and a half of that song, well, probably like minute to a minute and a half, somewhere in that range, was like amazing. Like actually so good. Like one of my favorite like parts of this album so far. The middle of it did start to lose me a little bit. I feel like the instrumentals didn't really hold up that well going throughout the song. There was some like vocal parts that were annoying me a little bit, and I just felt like it started to lose me. But then you get to that instrumental, the instrumental outro, and it is amazing. It's so good. Straight up, the middle of this song, like, kind of completely tanks the score. If it was just the intro and then it just like, I don't know, feel like had the middle part been stronger, it'd probably be like a 9. But considering how much I just wasn't really feeling the second third of this song, I'll give it like a 7.6. It's one that I would like probably end up enjoying way more if I'm just like doing an unbroken listen of the album. But when I'm like fully paying attention, there's just elements of that song that really don't work for me. Still good though, still pretty good. Oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm such a moron. Right. We are going to add up the scores, and then I'm going to tell you what my overall score for this album is. Sounds about right. I am feeling a flat 8 on this album, the exact same score that Crocky gave it. Yeah, this album is great. It's honestly like really good, really solid. A lot of Queens of the Stone Age fans seem to not really like it that much, and I'm not really too sure why. While I don't think it's as incredible as, again, Songs for the Deaf and Rated R and Like Clockwork, I still think it's a very solid addition to the catalog that provides something unique. It's and memorable, and honestly, probably pretty re-listenable. I can see myself returning to this album a decent amount in the future. Yeah, lots of standout tracks on here, like "Make It With You" and "Threes and Sevens" and the first 2 songs. Yeah, it's solid as hell. And that is going to do it for Era Vulgaris. Let me know what you think of this album down below. If you have heard it, do you love it? Do you hate it? Why? Let me know what other albums you want me to listen to in the future down in the comments. Make sure you like, share, and sub. Our goal is 1,000 subs by September. Join the Discord down below if you want to interact with me and other people who watch the channel. We talk about music and games and movies and stuff over there. So make sure you hop over there if you're interested. Check out the other content on my channel. We have videos on the entire Radiohead catalog. We recently did like Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. And we have much more stuff to come down at the future. And yeah, I will see you all whenever I next stream or upload. Goodbye.